Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Coach GC. I am excited to be here for the next edition of the Final Focus. And for all of you all who been tuning in over the last 6 months, I want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. I greatly appreciate all of your contributions. I appreciate your notes. I appreciate your comments. I appreciate your likes and your shares, and certainly hope that you continue to stay with us as we create greater change. So, as you know, the Final Focus series focuses on not just tools that can help young professionals, lawyers, and business owners, but also techniques, tools and techniques and thought processes that can change the way you look at your business. And I have no better person that I could ever bring to you all than Dr. P, Dr. Priscilla Kuser, Priscilla Kuser Consulting Services Solutions, excuse me, is one of the preeminent business psychologists. She is world renowned, as you can see by some of her features on Passion Vista and some of the many other accomplishments that she has. She is a business coach who focuses on micro businesses, and I hope that's something that she kind of talks about with us. But she's a preeminent expert as it relates to business coaching. And we're going to talk a little bit about going beyond just the revenue metric to determine success and sustainability of your firm. So, without any further ado, let's give a virtual round of applause to Dr. P.
Hey, hey, hey. How you doing, GC?
I'm doing well, Dr. P. How are you?
I am great. I was a little bit crushed that with all we've been through, you actually messed up the name of my company, but I forgive you on that. I do. I do. I'll
I'm so
forgive
used to saying I'm so used to saying services. It was the first thing that came to my head. Charge it to my head, not my heart.
you. Hey, it all happens to us. So, hey, I'm so happy to be here and to be part of the final focus because you've been doing some great things on this show. You've had several guests before me who've been talking about different tips and strategies to help those who are now looking to start their own law firm, or those who have started but not quite sure where they want to go, or even those who've been in existence but still trying to figure out, okay, which direction do I take things? So I do commend you on being able to help out your fellow lawyers.
Well, I mean, it's a profession. It's not just a career. It's something that we are charged to do to protect the public. We are charged to make sure that other lawyers are operating at their highest ideals, their highest capacities, because those people go out and represent everyday Floridians, in my case, but everyday people, and we want them to be able to do their best so that they can service their clients the best way they can. So.
All right. I love it. That's why I'm on the show to help lawyers out.
Never thought you'd be signing up to say that, huh?
No, never did, never did. But, when you have friends who decide to do entrepreneurship and they happen to be lawyers, you somehow get roped into helping them with their law firm.
Now, you do focus on micro businesses, and I think you taught me what that phrase was, but I don't know if it's something that has reached the general zeitgeist. Can you kind of go into details about what is a micro business?
I actually go into details in the presentation. So let me know when you want to
Perfect.
get started with it.
Let's get to it.
There you go. Thank you. Let's see if technology is going to work on my end here. All right. So, what we got going on today, I'm going to share a little bit about the company. And in there, I'm going to answer that question that GC just asked about what micro businesses are. We're going to look at some key indicators for that thriving business environment. Because if you were not aware, your law firm is a business. So, it's looking at how you are going to be thriving within that environment. Then we're going to discuss a little bit on how you kind of assess your organizational health, right? That is a big thing that we all have to do, regardless of the type of business that we have. Then I got some resources to share all throughout, and of course, a special offer for those of you who have joined us. So, really appreciate that. So, who is PKCS? Priscilla Kuster Consulting Solutions. We are a global management consulting company. And I am so excited to share I am the proud owner of the company. So we're Black female owned, and the company is registered both in Texas in the US and also in Barbados. So just share a little bit about some of the recognitions I have been able to achieve since starting the business, because being an entrepreneur is not a short task. It is not something that you just go into lightly. You are definitely in it for the long term. And part of that journey does include some awards and some recognitions. And part of our things to do as entrepreneurs is to be able to share with others some of those opportunities and those recognitions. I've been fortunate to have some features. GC did mention one of them, Passion Vista. Passion Vista has an amazing, amazing team over there. Had a wonderful experience with them, not only being featured on this magazine, but also being able to participate in their award ceremony in Goa in India. And Hoinser is a magazine that is featured globally, and it shares about business owners, business entrepreneurs who are moving and shaking and doing things in different industries. CIO Today enjoyed doing that interview last year, and it gave me an opportunity to share some details about my journey as an entrepreneur. And you want to learn more about that, you can find that interview on our company's website. So we are certified. We are Women's Business Enterprise certified by WBNC, and do have the certification as a business consultant through the US Institute of Diplomacy and Human Rights. So it's just a little bit about who's this person here in front of you, to be able to share about the tips and strategies that you're going to learn about in a few minutes, right? So our company does have some values. We have 4 values. First one is collaboration and connecting, and you are seeing this in the works right now with this collaboration with GC and his companies. And collaboration and connecting is something we all have to do as business owners. We have to be collaborating and connecting. Having your own law firm, you have to be collaborating and connecting with others. Then we have integrity, making sure that we deliver what we say we're going to deliver to you. Respect and accepting diversity. And that is realizing, we all have something different we're bringing to the table. And it's respecting and accepting those differences, and then using those differences to help us with moving forward. Then my favorite is innovation. Because at the end of the day, I strongly believe that micro businesses and small businesses are the backbone of any economy out there. And we created our businesses to provide something innovative, to provide something that isn't already out there, right? So we do have these 4 core values. So GC had asked me before all this started, what is a micro business? Because as he mentioned, with micro business, it isn't a term that many people are familiar with. So micro businesses are the smallest of the small businesses, right? And it includes any business that has less than 10 employees. And many micro businesses might choose to stay small, or they have plans on growing. So I challenge you to think of whichever law firm that you are out there comparing yourself to. Because I know y'all are sitting down there going, that law firm, that they have this, they have all these different partners, they have associates, the paralegals, the whole structure. It's like, oh my gosh, that's what I really want to have. You see them on the billboard. I challenge you to look to see how they started. And you might be surprised to find out how small they were when they started and how big they have gone. And even looking at that journey, you might even find some out there who started small and they're still small. Why? Because they're choosing to stay small. So micro businesses or micro enterprises, depending on where you are, use both terms. They are truly the smallest of the small businesses. Hope that answers your question, GC. So for the focus that we have within Priscilla Kuster Consulting Solutions, it's helping micro business owners with scaling their business by learning strategies to improve their goals, their processes, and their operations. And that is part of the reason why GC invited me here on the Final Focus series, because he and I, we were having different conversations, and it's a matter of, looking at law firms. You are a small business. And being an owner of that law firm, it's a matter of what are your goals? What are the processes you have in place? What are those operations? And helping you put those things all together and scale your business. So we do this by helping you find what I've coined as your OPAL. And that stands for organizational development, personal skills and abilities, leadership, and education. And we're going to discuss more on this later in this webinar. So the law firm structure. When you started your law firm, you had some structure in mind. You decided you wanted to start this law firm, but you had to first think of what are the different things you're going to have in mind, right? What are the different components within this structure that you have? So you have to be looking at that lawyer hierarchy. You are hopefully thinking about that support staff and the practice areas. These are three core components that I wanted to identify within this webinar because we're going to talk about how these three factor into why you should be looking at beyond revenue when you're considering the profitability and the sustainability of your law firm. So on that note, we're talking about profitability. It involves more than just revenue. Don't get me wrong. We all started our businesses. We all want to make money. Hey, revenue is one of those things that we're going to be looking at when we're making decisions. It is very easy to just look at the fact that, hey, I hit my revenue target. Yes, my business is making money, right? If you're only focusing on one thing, one aspect of your business, you might not be aware of where you're hemorrhaging out money or where you could even be losing your visibility or even your reputation. Because if you're just focusing on the money you're making and you're not looking at all the other metrics, that high number that you made can drop very suddenly. And you might be like, oh my gosh, what happened? Why did it drop? So this is why when GC asked me about coming on the final focus, one of the things we agreed on focusing on is going on a conversation beyond just the revenue. Because when you're looking at revenue, you have to know your metrics. You have to. You have to know what is most important for you within your business. And with knowing your metrics, the other part of it is you have to manage it because just knowing your metrics ain't going to help you. You also need to figure out a plan on how you're going to be monitoring those metrics, managing those metrics, making decisions, and helping to move your business forward. That is why it's important to know your metrics and also to know more than just revenue. So, some key metrics that we have in our businesses. We have to know the vision for our business and we have to know the mission for our business. Yeah, you have a law firm, but what was your reason for starting that law firm? What is it you want to be accomplishing with your law firm? And just this past week, GC and I we were in a conversation about the importance of knowing your vision and your mission for your business. These things are connected to your key metrics, right? Because again, you started this law firm for a reason. Knowing your values. At the beginning of this webinar, I did share with you the values for my company. Some of you might be like, what the hell? Why is she sharing the values for? I just want to know what to do beyond the revenue. But the thing is knowing the values makes a big difference because you learn a little bit more about my company. And you also will be able to use those values in how you approach situations, whether you're approaching vendors, whether you're approaching partners, whether you're approaching clients. Knowing your values and actually enacting those values, those are also crucial to your metrics. Then, of course, is your strategic plan. Yeah, you may have created a business plan when you started your business. That's fine. I'm talking about something different. I'm talking about a strategic plan. With the strategic plan has those elements of strategic goals. Strategic goals also have objectives, and these things are connected with your vision and mission, which also are connected with your metrics. Because if you remember, I mentioned you got to know your metrics, but you also need to be able to manage those metrics. And it's in the management of those metrics that you're able to actually accomplish your strategic goals, which means you're living out your strategic plan. Profitability. Profitability is something we all want, right? Again, GC and I were talking about this. We all have a business and we all want to make money in our business, right? So with profitability, what are those components? Organizational development. Organizational development is something that I've found that business owners overlook, regardless of the type of business. A lot of people start their business and jump straight into the marketing component of it before they're even ready for that marketing component. I've seen other businesses jump straight into hiring people before they have the necessary structures in place to help them with hiring with hiring staff, right? Because you want to hire people, but y'all are lawyers. You got to have those agreements. You got to have some agreements when people are coming to work with you, understanding if they're W-2, if they're 1099. What is the difference between those type of employees or workers? And what is it that you have to look at when you're hiring such individuals? What's going to be included in their agreement? Then you got to look at some job descriptions. And remember that hierarchy that I mentioned, that law firms have, that lawyer hierarchy? What is that going to look like? How do you factor in your support staff? And it goes on to talk about finances, budget, marketing, sales, IT, technology, those type of things, that all those things go into organizational development. So Howie, Sachs, and Henry, these are lawyers, they noted that ignoring business development was one of the top 10 reasons why businesses fail. Then Law Bank also noted that using a big firm model for your small firm is also a recipe for disaster. So this is why understanding your own business, understanding how your business is structured, and taking the time to look into that organizational development is going to help you with building that profitable and sustainable business. Then we got personal skills and abilities. These things include time management, organizational skills, setting and maintaining boundaries, leveraging your strengths. You started this law firm for a reason, right? You're good at that practice area you've identified. But we have to look at some other things as well, because now you're running a business. So understanding what your strengths are and how you can apply them into helping you to grow your business, that is going to be important for you. Battling self-doubt, and even looking at your speaking skills, because you got to be out there selling your business. And if you're out there selling your business, you got to work on those speaking skills. You might be able to put down those speaking skills when you're in the courtroom, but out when you're selling your services, that is going to be something different, right? So really understanding how you get those personal skills and abilities and how those things connect to profitability. Then, of course, there's leadership. So, leadership means, or I should say, leadership doesn't mean that you're doing everything yourself. That doesn't mean you're being a leader. You really have to learn how to lead and also how to support those who are going to be working with you. So, you're going to be the leader in your law firm. And as that leader in your law firm, you're creating that culture for your law firm. It might just be you right now, but you might have your hopes, dreams, aspirations, and goals to hire others to come on board and work with you. When you start bringing on people, you are going to be creating that culture. So you got to think about, what do you want your organizational culture to be like? And what I share with business owners is, think about the culture in different places where you worked previously that kind of led you to making the decision for wanting your own business in the first place. And if those are the things you don't want, then make sure you don't do those things in your own business, right? And leadership skills, they do involve communication, strategic thinking, emotional intelligence, and decision making. Those are just some of the things that go into leadership skills. Then there is education. Yeah, you got a law degree, but you still got to invest in yourself. You got to do professional development as a lawyer, right? Especially for the practice area that you're currently in. And who knows, you might have strategic goals to add on other practice areas. So we got to do continuing professional development. But running a business, you also have to invest in yourself to be able to learn about the things that are going to help you with running a successful business. And being aware of those things help you to be an effective leader. You might not be implementing all of the things yourself, but having an awareness of what's involved makes a huge difference. right? So when you're looking at profitability, organizational development, personal skills and abilities, the leadership, the education, sounding a little bit familiar? It's that OPAL system that I was talking about at the beginning of this session. So profitability, strategic goals. I mentioned about having that strategic plan. When written correctly, your strategic plan has in strategic goals. Those strategic goals, in some way, shape, form, or fashion, should be related to your product and service development, your marketing, your sales, your human resources, your technology, your finance, your customer service. Because when you look at each one of these are going to play a certain role within your law firm. And in each one of those roles, they have to be connected to that vision and that mission that you have for your business. And you're going to dig deeper because connecting it, you have to be specific about what within each of these are going to help you to live out the vision and the mission for your company. And this takes time. This isn't something to be rushed into because under each one of these, then you get to start to identify certain key metrics that you want to be able to accomplish. And once you are able to monitor those and you can manage them, you are going to be able to achieve your goals, which means you're going to be able to achieve your profitability. As you can see, sales is listed, revenue falls under sales. But as you can see too, that's not the only thing listed. You do have to look at these other components to help you with making the appropriate decisions for your business. So here's a resource to help you with monitoring those metrics. Monday.com is one that I've found to be very, very useful. We do use it within PKCS because it has all of the components that we need to be able to create the charts, the graphs, the checklist, all those things together. When we're looking at that strategic plan, the different elements of the plan, the goals, who's going to be completing what are going to be the deadlines, working in contingencies, all of those things we're able to put into Monday.com to help us with monitoring those metrics. So organizational assessments. This is something else GC had asked me to cover because if y'all were following his post on LinkedIn, he did mention that we're going to talk a little bit about these organizational assessments, right? An organization assessment means focusing on the entire organization. So if it's just you, you're still the entire organization. If it's you and one or two other people, still the entire organization, because you have to focus on what is happening within that holistic structure, right? What are things that are working? What are things that are not working? And how can you improve on areas, right? So you're doing a full global picture of what's happening in your organization. Then the assessments are also connected to your strategic goals because you sat down and you identified some goals that you said were appropriate for your company. After doing your assessment, if you're realizing that what's happening isn't aligning with your goals, then you need to understand why. You need to make sense of why is there not alignment between your goals and the things that you're doing. Because it could be very likely that you started down a path to do things that have nothing to do with your goals. You kind of get that distractibility, that shiny object syndrome, because somebody told you, hey, don't do that, do this instead. Oh, this law firm down the street is doing this, so you do this. So if you start grabbing at all these different things, those things can pull you away from your strategic goals and then take you down a road that you're not seeing that profitability that you're looking for because things aren't working within your company, right? Then it does impact your identified metrics. Because once you do your organizational assessment, you can see what's happening in your business. And that information can help you to see what should be the metrics you're tracking. Because if you aren't tracking those metrics, then that will be that could be a reason why you're not seeing that growth that you're looking for. Or the assessment can also identify other metrics that you didn't consider that are now things that you're like, hey, these are things I really need to pay attention to. So then that gives you an insight into what you need for your business. So with these organizational assessments, you look at this operational efficiency and you have to look at what are the key components that makes you efficient. If you're looking at the time it takes to go through the recruitment process of actually getting a lead that goes to a prospect and that person also becomes a customer, then how long does it take for your onboarding process for your clients? Then when you are working with your client, how long does it take to execute whatever it is that they are wanting you to help them work on? Or the operation efficiency can be in terms of you bringing on staff to work with you. How long does it take you to recruit that staff? How long does it take you to onboard that staff? And then also monitoring their progress. So you want to look at ways in which you're spending your time and how you can make it even more efficient. Then you have employee satisfaction. Even if you have one employee, you still should be concerned about that employee satisfaction. Because the minute that employee becomes dissatisfied, one, you can lose them, or two, they can start making errors that can cost you. And it can cost you in several ways, not just financial. So you do want to make sure that when you do that full organizational assessment, when you look into what's going on in different aspects of your business, that you also are considering employee satisfaction. Then there's customer satisfaction. You want to know from your clients how you're doing. Don't just think of them as, oh, that client gives me 5 figures, this client gives me 6 figures. Don't think of your clients in terms of the amount of revenue that they can give you. You also want to make sure that you're giving them high quality work. And in order to understand that, you get some feedback from your clients. Your clients are going to be the ones who are going to let you know what they liked and what they didn't like. And as a growing law firm, or even as an established law firm, that those insights can help you to make some changes to products and services so that you can continue to improve and increase what you're doing for your clients. And of course, innovation capacity. It is all well and good to sit down and think about all these different things that you think are innovative and that it would be really good for your company and it's going to really help your target audience. But do you have the capacity to actually completely design this innovative product or service and also implement it? And that capacity is not just time. It is time, it is people, it is money. So it's looking at, do you truly have the capacity? So you can do your organizational assessment. You can come up with, okay, these are things we're lacking. Hey, this is what we can do. And we can be really innovative about it. But if you don't have the capacity to implement it, then your innovative idea might not ever be seen by others, right? So you want to make sure you have that capacity. So strategic decision making, you got to identify your priorities. You want to be a profitable law firm, you got to identify your priorities. Identifying your priorities will put you a step closer to identifying the metrics that are going to be most important to your law firm. So when you look at a lawyer's law firm and you see what they're doing, their priorities and your priorities might not be the same. And that is fine because you have your own law firm. You have to identify the priorities that are most important for your business, not someone else's. You're talking about yours. You got to be analyzing the situation. In terms of analyzing the situation, you have to look at what is happening. Remember, I mentioned about managing your metrics. So part of managing your metrics is doing that analysis of what is actually truly happening within your business, right? So you got to be able to look at what's happening within your business and you are going to sit and analyze it. If it's just you right now, I highly recommend that you work with a mentor, you work with a coach, you work with a trusted colleague if you need a second opinion on what you are noticing when you're looking at your metrics. Because sometimes it can be really tricky when we're doing it by ourselves and we might miss something. So being able to have some input from a mentor or from a coach or a trusted colleague, that can also help you with analyzing your situation and making those strategic decisions. Use decision-making tools. Don't just eyeball it. You got to be able to use tools that can help you identify trends, that can help you with identifying patterns. Because when we just look at things, we can make such huge misunderstandings of what we're looking at, right? So use decision-making tools to help you with analyzing your situation so that you can make strategic decisions. And trust your intuition, your experience, and your data. All these things together. You got to trust it. Because when you can trust those things also help you with making strategic decisions. You're looking at it all together because the data can tell you things and it might give you more than one solution. So you got to trust your intuition about which solution it is that you want to go forward with. Same thing with your experience. When you're looking at your experiences, you got to look at your intuition and your data, put it all together to help you with making those decisions, because it's those decisions that are going to help you with getting to that goal of that profitability that you're looking for in your business. So I mentioned I got a special offer for y'all, all y'all who have attended the final focus here. That GC does such a good job of putting together. Y'all really gotta, if you haven't seen the previous final focus, you should go look at them, and also stay tuned for the upcoming ones for the rest of the year. So here's my special offer for all of you who attended, and it is downloading our planning guide. When you download our planning guide, within that planning guide, you get the opportunity to sign up for a significantly discounted management consulting session. So download the planning guide and take advantage of that opportunity. Within that management consultation, you get to ask some questions that can help you with, unlocking some of the challenges that you're having, or even if you're looking at some assistance with that strategic decision making, right? You download that planning guide, and at the end of the planning guide, there is some information on how you can take advantage of accessing a significantly discounted management consultation session. And that consultation session is going to be with me, and we're going to walk through those challenges that you're currently having in your business. So, GC, any questions come through?
I have
Anything?
questions myself, Doc. I already start out with questions. So first and foremost, when we are considering different tools for making our decisions, and all of the decision making tools that are out there, it's hard to make a decision on them. So what is your
Sorry.
advice just on that part? Because lawyers are well known for like analysis paralysis. We have to look at every single thing before we make a decision. So how do we make a decision on the tools that'll help us make a decision?
Y'all and this analysis paralysis, man. that
It's what we
that
get paid to do.
that is true, and they pay y'all the big bucks for it. So going into it, you really have to first think about what it is you want to find in this tool, what it is that you want the tool to help you to do. And being lawyers, I'm sure you're going to whip out a table, a spreadsheet, something that you're going to have your X and Y axis going on here. And you're going to be putting in information that is going to be connected with your strategic goals, with your vision, and with your mission. Because based on that information, you're going to know, and this is where I'm going to force you into doing something, all the lawyers out there. You got to have some tunnel vision, right? Because you want to be able to find tools that are going to help you with what it is you're looking for, right? And you got to be able to stay on, this is what I'm looking for. Yes, there are going to be some things that you come across and you're like, oh my gosh, this sounds good, and this sounds good, and this sounds good, and this sounds good. When that happens, I challenge you to think about how can that feature in that tool help you to accomplish your goal. And I'm not talking about rationalizing, I mean, realistically, how is it going to help you? And if you have to sit there and talk to yourself for a minute or two to kind of convince yourself of why, chances are you don't need it.
I feel like you're taking a shot at me. Uh, I don't know why we had to get personal on the podcast on the final focus. I want the
So
best the
you
best
just turned told everybody your business. I did
I,
not.
wa- I want the best software out there, right? Uh, I have another question. So in terms of reaching out to clients
hmm
to figure out how they feel about your services, which again, as you pointed out, is a great indicator on if the people that you serve are going to become advocates for you. That's a whole
Mhm.
different discussion that maybe I'll do. Maybe you'll have to come back and we could do a whole discussion creating client advocates. But
Mhm.
um, actually, do you want to talk about that for a little bit? Do you want to talk about the power of client advocacy?
He loves to put me on the spot, don't you?
I can dive in since it's a topic that I love. But every one of you all that are currently watching, you have clients. You
Mhm.
do your work for your clients. You do the best that you can for your clients. And then what happens when you're done, particularly when you're doing like a PI case for those who are watching that do PI. You finish with that client, they get their check, they're made whole to the best of your ability. You help them become whole again, and then that's it. They go home unless they become an advocate, unless they are out there saying, this attorney was so good, was so effective, was so caring, that every time someone gets into a car accident, I tell them, you got to go to my attorney. You have
Mhm.
to. That's the same way people talk about you, Dr. P. I've met some of your clients, and when they talk about you, they're like, no, you got to go to Dr. P. Like I tell everyone about her, she's the best. How do you create that kind of client advocacy?
You remember at the beginning of this session, I talked about your vision, your mission, and your values. Your
Hmm.
values are very important. And I'm not talking about your personal values, I'm talking about your business's values because our businesses are their own entity. And you have to be able to identify what are those values that you want anyone who's going to interact with your company to experience. Then you're not going to just put them in a nice cute frame and put them up on the wall and point to them ever so often. What you're actually going to do is live out those values. You have to be living them out. So in providing the SOAR coaching services, the SOAR consultation services, the SOAR master classes, the SOAR summits, in providing those services, I do live my values. And with living the values, my clients are able to see it. I've had clients say to me, oh my gosh, this is just like what you were mentioning in terms of your value on respecting and accepting diversity on our or on innovation. And it's through that authenticity is key. Whatever your values are, you have to be authentically living them. And when you live them, you get to help your clients to reach whatever is the goal they had when they started working with you. And that allows them to then go on to be those client advocates, to be that referral source for you because they're truly sharing their experiences that they had with you. But you have to be true to your values.
No, you're absolutely right. And even, now that I think about it, I got to go back and recognize that, hey, we've evolved from, 12 years ago when I launched my firm. I've evolved since then. The firm has
Yeah.
evolved. We now have a international scope. We now have a completely different practice area from where we started. Now, the core of what we believe in is still the same. Treating every client like the only client, but
Mhm.
uh, making sure that we are adjusting to make sure that our business is standing on principles that we care about is certainly something that is important that I want to go back and revisit. And thank you for bringing that point up. So
And like
I gotta.
you mentioned, sorry to cut you off, but like you mentioned, your company is now in the double digits for existence, right? You've hit 10 years and you passed the 10 years. It is not uncommon for a business in your age bracket to be looking at, hey, is our mission still the same? Is our vision still the same? And it's not a matter of you roll out of bed and go, oh my gosh, let's change it. You're going to be looking again at your data. You're going to be looking at your metrics. You're going to use that information to help you with making that strategic decision of, you know what, though, within the past 5 years, we actually shifted our mission. We need to really reflect the fact that based on the clientele we serve, we've shifted our mission a little bit, or we've even shifted our vision a little bit, or we have a completely different vision and mission just based off of the experiences. But again, you're not just going to roll out of bed and say, hey, let's change the vision and mission. You're looking at the fact that you're looking at your metrics, you're looking at the data you have, and using that information to help you make decisions.
All right, so I got a follow up that's a dovetail, and this is from attorney Brandon Sapp. Appreciate you being here, B. Sapp. And BSAP would like to talk about what processes you should put in place to ensure client satisfaction consistently throughout your firm.
So you first got to start with some onboarding, because some clients might not even tell you, but they might think your onboarding process has sucked. But because you told them that you're gonna help them with their problem, they stuck it out anyways, right?
Mm.
So you got to look at, what do you do to onboard a client? And yes, we do onboard clients just like how you onboard staff. So what do you do when you onboard a client? What was involved? Did they have to fill out a form? If so, where was that form? Was it emailed in a PDF and they had to download it and then they had to fill it out? Or was it electronic and they can fill it out electronically and hit submit? As the lawyer, you know which one of those softwares or which one of those approaches would be most appropriate for your business, right? And you have to look at, did that even help the situation? And what was the turnaround time? If the client sent you information on Monday, when did you get back to them? Did you get back to them Monday afternoon, Tuesday, a week from then, a month from then? When did you get back to them? So when you're looking at building out your processes, you have to also look at what is going to be involved for every single step of the onboarding. Once you've onboarded the client, what does that communication plan look like, right? Are they going to be able to call you, text you, email you, WhatsApp you? Do you have them in your Monday.com system or whatever system you're using that they can communicate with you within that system? Do you have your own software that they're using? So again, you're looking at the technology that you had or you have within your business. How is it being used, and what type of information is going to be conveyed within there? Then checking in with the client, because y'all lawyers can write some very lengthy things when you're ready, but it's a matter of checking for understanding. Did the client truly understand, or did they look at something that's 10 pages and say, yep, I got it? You want to make sure you can check for understanding with your client. Not saying read verbatim what you wrote to them, but also just making sure that you're checking in with them to ensure that they understand. Because at the end of the day, y'all are providing a service for these clients, and the client needs to be aware of what exactly is involved in that service. So again, looking at that onboarding, the communication throughout, the systems that you're going to be using to help facilitate this relationship with this client, the time that's going to be involved, who are the human resources that are going to be built into it. Remember that hierarchy and that support staff that you have within your law firm. At what point in time do you activate different levels of that hierarchy or different levels within your support staff? So looking at all those things and creating the process for your business. A good way to start with creating your processes is look at what you've already been doing and actually write it out.
All right, I got another question here, and these are kind of the same. This is from Janito Simon and Jean Polo. The questions are close enough that I'll try to phrase it
Mhm.
in a way that includes them both. But essentially, they want to talk about one of the metrics. I guess this is more specific to law firms, but time at firm or time on desk
Oh, billable hours.
for a case, and how you determine what's the business. I guess what's the business average? I'm sorry. My apologies, fellas. Okay. The question is about time on desk and time at firm, and how do you determine what the normal rates are based on your industry?
So I would ask, did you do your competitive advantage research? Because if you did competitive advantage research, then you would be able to know the law firms in your area, your service area, might not be the same as your geographical area, but the law firms within your service area, what do they offer that's similar to what you're doing, and at what rate are they offering it? So getting that information will help you with being able to identify an average. Now the thing is that rates aren't always readily accessible online, so you have to find creative ways of being able to get that information so it can help you with knowing, hey, how competitive am I with my rates? So when you're going to factor in a contract, when you're looking at billable versus non-billable hours, you're going to have an idea Since you've done your competitive advantage research, you're now going to have a better idea at what is the rate at which you would be charging and how many hours would be included for billable versus non-billable for that specific type of contract you're working on.
Yeah, and to further that, you want to be able to analyze your own time at firm
Mm-hmm.
targets, uh, ir- irrespective of what other firms are doing. But if you are going to wage into a new practice area, you do want to start trying to talk to friends in that practice area. Figure out, hey, how long do you maintain a case from start to finish before you were able to kind of get the results for the client? And you want to figure that out by leveraging your network. I know a lot of people don't like to ask the questions, what we feel like are, industry secrets, but truly it's the best way to know. The only other way I can think of is potentially talking to your clerk of court in your local jurisdiction and just kind of seeing like, hey, how long are cases typically open, and you can kind
Mm-hmm.
of file down and figure out which cases close faster, which ones take longer. You look at verdict forms and stuff like that as well, and kind of figuring that out to figure out your time at desk or time at firm number. But either way, I think you should be looking at what your firm produces, and you should be comfortable with that final number, whatever that metric is for you that makes sense, whatever that price per case is or price per client, whatever that number is. You have to know what it is for you because everyone's living situation is different, and you got to
Yes.
be comfortable with that every time.
Yes. And with the competitive advantage research, that is just a start. It is not saying, hey, my competitors are charging 300, so I'm going to charge 300 too, or I'm going to charge 400, or I'm going to charge 250. That's not what it automatically means. Like GC said, you're doing that research to get information to help you with the start, right? And once you start, then you have to see, hey, how does this really apply to me in my own law firm? Right. And GC mentioned asking questions. And it's funny you mentioned that, GC, because when you look at the failures for law firms, I've found a couple different resources that mention the fact that law firms fail sometimes because the lawyer who started it actually failed to ask questions because they were afraid to ask their friends who are also lawyers a specific question because they didn't want to be embarrassed, or they were afraid to ask because then that person will find out what they're doing and then go do it too, or they were afraid to ask because they didn't want to look stupid. But at the end of it, we got to ask questions. We got to ask the questions to help us with understanding what it is that we are trying to make sense of and then apply it within our businesses.
Exactly. All right. Well, let me double check to make sure I don't see any other questions. All right. Thank you all for your questions. Really appreciate that. Um, all right, Doc. So do you want to get a little summary?
I can wrap it up here. So we talked about beyond the revenue, right? And revenue, yes, is a key metric that we have, but it's not the only one. And we even saw it from the questions we're having, because even with those questions that we had, especially, the time that you're spending on it, the money that you're getting paid for the time that you're working with a specific case with a specific client, those things factor in to how profitable your company is going to be, because you might think you have 100% success rate with all of your clients, but did that help you meet all of the targets that you're looking for? Yes, you were able to provide them what they were looking for, but for you as a business, can you sustain? Because you're going to be looking at your rates, you're going to be looking at your time management, you're looking at your communication, who's working with you, how are you marketing your business? So you're looking at all of these different components of your organization to help you with making decisions. And it's strategic decisions that we're making. Because remember, you're looking at your organizational development, your personal skills and abilities, your leadership, and your education. How do all four of those things come together to help you to be successful and have a profitable law firm? So you can follow my company on these social media platforms, and we do post different tips and strategies and articles that we find. We do have a podcast to share even more tips and strategies with you. And I really do appreciate GC having me here on the final focus. That's my email right there and a phone number. You can reach out to me if you have any follow-up questions. And GC, with that, I will say solutions plus actions equals results, because we help you soar. Ooh.
Oh, that was an amazing presentation. Thank you again, Dr. P, founder and CEO of Priscilla Kuser Consulting Solutions LLC. Um, I thank you for being here on the July version of the Final Focus, and I really appreciate all of your guidance throughout the years, talking about business optimization and micro businesses and how we can still be impactful. So really appreciate you being here today, and I look forward to working with you again.
Same here, GC. Thanks so much. And thank you to everybody who was able to attend the live session. If you're watching it on the replay, you can still drop your comment in there. We will still answer your comment. If you're listening to this on the podcast, do the same. You can still put your comment in there on the podcast and share some love, y'all. You like it, you love it, you share the presentation. You do that because we're all business owners, we're all entrepreneurs, and we will succeed if we help each other out. So thank y'all so very much for joining us.
Yeah, I'm. We got a lot of people on here today, and that's a surprise because we're competing against the Olympics. So it really shows that we're doing something special, or that this is a topic that people really care about. Again, if you register, you will get access to the replay. Hopefully you're here live and you got your questions answered. But if not, certainly feel free. Oh, thank you. I see you're getting some love in the chat.
Brandy. Thank you, Brandy. And Veronique.
Right.
Veronique.
Veronique.
Sorry, Veronique.
Appreciate all of the love from everyone. I will say one thing, Dr. P, and I'll let you continue on with your day, but thank you again for being here. One of the things that Dr. P mentioned was uh, lawyers not wanting to ask questions, lawyers being nervous about the process of interacting with someone, some entity that will allow them to get the answers that they need so that they can be competitive. And that's really, I mean, that's unfortunate. But that's what coaching is, right? That is I guess, in a way, that is what we can provide you at Coach GC. That's what we can provide you all that I think escapes our profession. The ability to truly come forward, ask a question without fear of reprisal, without fear of someone saying, oh, this person doesn't know how to practice law just because they have a question about the business of law, right? I know mentorship is important. Mentorship is a critical factor in my own life and in the life of many of the mentees and mentors that I've had. But coaching is different from mentorship in the sense that there is a higher level of accountability. So we all know what to do, and in some cases we don't know what to do, right? But in the cases where we know what to do, we still struggle with actually doing them. Uh, the reason I don't have abs is not because I don't know uh, the recipe for that successfulness. No, it's just because I just don't do the work, right? And sometimes you just need someone to hold you accountable, design a plan for you, and make you stick to that plan in order to make sure that you see the success so that you can create greater change. And if you're interested in that, if you're interested in that process, if you know that you will benefit from having someone alongside you in this journey that can help you operate at a higher level, then certainly email me, uh, leave a comment, and let us know. And we're here. We're here to serve you. So, again, we're here. We're going to be here again next month, the last Friday of August, and we appreciate you all being here today. Y'all take care and have a good day.